If you think corporate campuses are just expensive real estate investments built to show off executive ego, you are missing the single biggest financial trick in modern business history. Most people look at a $5 billion tech fortress and see a workplace. But behind closed doors on Wall Street, venture capitalists and megacap dealmakers do not view these places as offices at all. They view them as massive, liquid financial weapons, multi-billion-dollar tax shields, and masterfully engineered human traps designed to extract every single drop of economic value from human beings. In fact, the most dangerous financial maneuver a CEO can pull isn't launching a failed product. It is signing the master deed for a mega campus. And by the end of this video, you will discover the exact financial mechanics behind how billionaires use concrete to print billions, the terrifying reason why these megastructures are secretly collapsing, and the hidden deal-making playbook that turns a $3 billion debt burden into an unstoppable cash printer. To understand how high-stakes venture capitalists approach this game, you first have to throw out everything you thought you knew about building costs. When a middle-tier company wants to build a regional hub, they spend maybe $200 million. It gets them a few slick towers, a decent parking garage, and basic security gates. But when the megacap tech giants enter the market, the scale shifts into a completely terrifying realm. We are talking about project budgets that easily cross $2 billion, $4 billion, sometimes even upwards of $5 billion for a single physical location. That is more money than the entire annual economic output of small nations. So, where does all that capital actually go, you see? Buying the land is actually the cheap part. The real hidden bill comes from something much more covert. When a corporation decides to drop $5 billion into a local area. If the public finds out beforehand, land prices instantly explode by 500% overnight. So, venture capitalists and corporate dealmakers deploy a shadowy playbook used by military intelligence. They set up dozens of fake shell companies, using anonymous lawyers and secret offshore trusts, to quietly buy up hundreds of individual family plots over 5 long years. The sellers think they are dealing with local developers, while in reality, a trillion-dollar corporate giant is pulling the strings from the shadows. And that brings us to the first massive financial loop, because once the land is secured, the company doesn't just build an office. They construct a private sovereign state, they build private power plants, custom water recycling grids, and secret underground transit networks. Why? Because relying on public city infrastructure creates operational risk. And in the world of high finance, risk is the ultimate sin, which leads to the strange question that keeps CFOs up at night. If a company drops $5 billion up front, how on earth does that raw concrete ever turn into a profitable financial yield? The answer isn't real estate appreciation. The secret core money machine is actually something far more psychological, and frankly, a little bit sinister. You see, in high-stakes venture capital, your biggest single expense is high-value human talent. If you pay an elite artificial intelligence engineer $500,000 a year, every single minute that engineer spends stuck in traffic, cooking dinner, or running errands, is capital bleeding directly out of your balance sheet. So how do you stop the bleeding? You build a physical ecosystem that completely swallows their entire life. Think about it. When a corporate campus offers free gourmet sushi, on-site medical doctors, free dry cleaning, luxury private commuter shuttles with high-speed internet, and full-service gyms, it looks like incredible employee generosity, right? Wrong. It is a brutally cold, data-driven financial calculation. The private shuttle bus transforms a wasted 60-minute traffic commute into an extra hour of high-value coding. The free gourmet cafeteria turns a 2-hour lunch break in the city into a 15-minute quick bite right next to the developer's desk. And the on-site dry cleaner means the employee never has a reason to leave the campus before 8 o'clock at night. When you multiply those tiny reclaimed pockets of time across 20,000 elite employees, you aren't just saving time. You are quietly extracting millions of additional high-value work hours every single year, without raising base salaries by a single penny. The campus isn't an office. It is a productivity centrifuge designed to spin human focus into pure enterprise valuation. But the real genius of the layout goes even deeper than free perks. The physical architecture itself is engineered like a high-tech casino. Notice how modern megacampuses rarely have straight hallways or private isolated offices. Everything is intentionally curved, forcing human pathways to cross at specific central hubs. Dealmakers call this engineered spatial velocity. They know that if an algorithm designer accidentally runs into a senior product manager at a central coffee bar, a casual 2-minute conversation can spark an idea that creates a multi-million-dollar software feature. It is physical proximity monetization. And then, There is the psychological retention lock-in. When your job provides your meals, your gym, your doctor, your social events, and your transit, quitting your job means destroying your entire daily existence. It creates a psychological golden cage that drops employee turnover rates to near zero, saving corporations hundreds of millions in recruitment costs every single year. Now, this all sounds like an unbreakable money printer. So why are some of the smartest dealmakers on Wall Street watching these megastructures completely destroy multi-billion-dollar empires? What is the hidden trap that causes these concrete monuments to collapse overnight? To see how this dream turns into a financial nightmare, look at what happened during one of the most catastrophic real estate collapses in modern history. Consider the terrifying case study of WeWork. They tried to build a global empire of urban corporate hubs, signing dozens of multi-billion-dollar long-term lease liabilities. They told investors that physical space was the future, and their paper valuation exploded to a breathtaking $47 billion. But they broke the cardinal rule of high-stakes financial engineering. They took on fixed, unyielding real estate liabilities while relying on fragile short-term variable revenue. When the market shifted and economic friction hit, those massive lease commitments didn't care that revenue was dropping. The cash bleed was instantaneous and relentless. Within months, that $47 billion empire plunged straight into bankruptcy court, leaving investors holding billions in worthless paper. They forgot that concrete does not negotiate when interest rates rise. And that brings us to the second catastrophic failure pattern, the spatial trap. Look at what happened to retail giant Sears. Decades ago, Sears built a massive suburban headquarters in Illinois, a sprawling multi-million square foot megamonument far away from major tech centers. They locked billions of dollars of corporate capital into static suburban ground, while Sears was busy paying millions every month just to maintain its giant physical fortress. Nimble, digital-first competitors emerged out of nowhere. Sears was trapped, overburdened by an illiquid, rotting physical asset that drained cash while their core business model evaporated. Decades later, that grand monument to corporate power was sold off for pennies on the dollar. Torn down to build basic warehouse storage, they built a palace for yesterday, right before the market moved to tomorrow. So, how do the world's most aggressive venture capitalists run the numbers to make sure they don't fall into the exact same trap? Let us open up the ultimate deal spreadsheet and break down the cold, hard numbers. Imagine a top-tier global enterprise building a state-of-the-art mega campus for $3 billion. They financed the $3 billion upfront construction cost by issuing low-interest corporate bonds and leveraging existing cash reserves. Operating expenses, including security, private transit, gourmet dining, and massive utility bills, cost roughly $200 million every single year. On paper, it looks like a staggering financial drag. But now, watch how a venture capitalist flips the balance sheet first. By hosting 15,000 top-tier innovators on a single site and boosting their focused output by just 12%, the company generates an estimated $500 million in additional economic value every year. Second, they leverage their massive footprint to demand tax abatements from the local government, cutting $50 million off their annual tax bill. Third, they execute what dealmakers call a sale-leaseback maneuver. They sell the physical land to a real estate trust for $3 billion in instant cash, while simultaneously signing a 30-year master lease to keep full operational control. Just like that, they unlock $3 billion in liquid capital, erase the debt from their primary balance sheet, and retain the productivity engine. Subtract the operational lease costs, and the campus nets over $350 million in annual value. That drops the net payback period down to under 6 years, transforming an expensive building into a perpetual cash-generating machine. When you zoom out, you realize the ultimate truth about these massive concrete fortresses. They are not monuments to architectural design, and they certainly are not built out of corporate kindness for employees. They are cold,